Hello. Today we will be discussing about the data types. Okay, let's start. First of all, understand what data type is. Data type basically, as a definition says, it's a classification of data which tells the interpreter. In our case, it is interpreter. But again, let me standardize the definition for it, which tells the compiler or interpreter. Compiler or interpreter, I have told you in the first session itself what is compiled and what is interpreted language. So compiler works with compiled languages, interpreter works with interpreted languages. Coming over here, data type is basically the classification which tells the compiler or interpreter what type of data is going to be stored in the variable. If the variable is storing, let's say, let me write, don't go with the second definition right now. Let me explain you this first. Let's say I have written x equals to 12. What kind of data that 12, this x is storing? It's a number, or if you elaborate it or just go one level down, so it will be integer. Now, what kind of y value? Y it is storing? Y is storing a decimal float or decimal value. Okay. Now, if I write z equals to, let's say Aman. Aman is the string. Now,
It's a string.
interpreter knows that okay, x is 12. X is having value as int, y is having value as float or decimal, or z is having value as string. Now, this though I have told you that this is this, but how you will confirm whether I'm saying this correct or not? So to confirm it, we have a function called type. This function lets us check the data type of the variable. So type variable name. Let's say I want to check the data type of y. It's int. If I want to check the data type of y, it's float. If I want to check the data type of z, it is string. Got it? This thing. So basically,
Yes,
we
sir.
have these three data types. Right now, we have these three data types, but there are more 4 inbuilt data types that we will discuss afterwards, not now. And I'll just give you the name of those: list, tuple, set, dictionary. These 4 are there, but we will discuss it afterwards, not now. So this thing is clear, everyone. Now, coming to the second point. What second point says? Second point says, Python being a dynamic language, it allots the data types, or it allocates basically, allocates the data type during the runtime, not before, which allows us to not declare the type of data type, which allows us not to declare some sort of grammar mistake. Python being a dynamic language, it allocates the data type during the runtime, not before, which allows us not to declare the data type of the variable before executing the code. Yeah. Now, why this line? Because there are languages like C, C++, Java, in which before running your code, you have to tell the compiler what kind of data type you will be using. Okay. What kind of data type you will be using. It's not like that, okay, I have declared a variable. Now, whatever type of data I want to store, I will be storing. So Python, that's the reason Python is called as dynamic language, because it allocates the data type during the runtime. And this is one of the, you can say, favorite questions of interviewers, where in your basic round of interview, they will ask this question: what kind of language Python is? So Python is an interpreted language and dynamic language. Now the cross question will come as why Python is a dynamic language? Or you can be asked questions like, is Python a static or a dynamic language? So Python is a dynamic language. And why? The reason has been written over here. The reason is because during the runtime, I will tell what kind of data it is going to store. you see over here, I have written z equals to 1. Now in future, I want to take z, I want to input or take input in z as integer. So in that case, the code will work perfectly fine. But in case of C, I'll tell you, let's say int x 12. This is how you have to write in C, C++, and Java. Those are static languages. But in case of Python, you have to write like this 12, and you can go with like this. The next moment you can write string into that as well. This thing. Now, let's leave it here. Now, coming over here, what you will be allotted is, let's say, you will be given j equals to 12, k equals to 45.6, and L equals to what we can write j plus k. Write one thing, print f data type of j symbol. Both of them are of different data type, int and float, correct? Both are of different data type. First one is of int and the second one is of float. Now my question to you is, what will happen if you add j to k? First of all, what will be the result in L? 57.6. Okay. Now what will be the data type? See, it's just like you have a smaller data type and you have a bigger data type. Now you have added the data types. Now once you add the data type, don't you think the final result will be the biggest value or the largest data type it will be? So 57.6 is what? 57.6 is a floating value. So that's the reason you will get the output as, or the value of data type of L as float. Reason? Because it will give you the highest data type. It will allot the highest data type to it. And let's say we have y equals to true and z equals to false. These are Boolean data types. Use case, I'll tell you an if statement, if conditional statement, not here. These are just Boolean data types. You see, this is green, dark green, sorry, bold green. So this is a data type, true and false. Just two values are there, true and false. That's it. Let's check the type as well. You'll see the type as bool. Bool as Boolean. Goes for Z. Conversion works. I'll show you. If you want to convert int to float, you have to use like this. Float and pass on that variable. This will convert int to float. See the difference. Let me show you the value as well. See the difference. The first one is 12 and the second one is 12.0. Got it? Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Sir.
Anyone, any doubts in conversion? What I have done is just written float and then in bracket I have passed on the value x. So convert x to float and store it back in x. Let me show you the visual representation of it as well. This is x over here. Sorry. This is x. X is 12 x is 12. Then you have converted it to decimal. So decimal has been converted 12.0 and it is again stored back in x. So basically this will get removed from here and 12.0 will come here. I told na input part is pending. Input has a issue. And what issue is there? That I'm going to tell. Input has a issue. And second thing, if you store value like this, the solution to this, I have already told you. You can convert this string. Error came. If you remember, there was an error over here.
Yes, sir, we can convert into the integer.
This is the thing I have told you. You remember I also told this thing that if you write hello over here, you will get an error. Hello, this cannot be done. So that is the solution for it. See over here, that is the solution. 1, 1, 2, 1, 3. You will not get 1, 2, 1, 3. Then you will get 25 over here. That is the solution. Now, what will be the output here? I'll say it should be 31. I'm saying it should be 31. The by default input of Python is a string. By default, the input type is string. Now, if you execute this line, you'll see 1516. Got it? Everyone, the reason why it is 1516, because by default, the input type is a string. So is this clear, everyone? By default, the input type of a string is, input type is a string. By default, the input type is a string. Any number you enter, it will be string only. Any number you enter, it will be string. By default, the input type is a string. Now, when the by default input is a string, what to do? So as you have seen in the previous one, we have converted it to int. But this will convert the string to int. No issues. But doesn't it looks a lengthy thing over here? A long one extra line you have to add for each and every input. Yes, it is. So how to overcome that? So in order to overcome that, you need to just write int in bracket, then you have to take the input. Correct? Yeah. Waiting for your input. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you very much.